When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings, this is Kotobukijake once again coming to you for Septum Sin versus the World. Coming to you solo today for the second part in my series where I'll be covering the premium edition sets from Sentai Filmworks. And today's coverage will be for Amagi Brilliant Park and for seasons 1 and 2 of Chihayafuru. In truth, I probably should have broken these up and done Amagi Brilliant Park because Chihayafuru, for various reasons, took a while to get through. Amagi would have been fresher in my mind if I had done it on its own. But I can still do this, and I apologize up front. I had very much intended to take notes and present from notes, and frankly, my hand is killing me. I just filmed another video that I did take copious notes for.
What's on a cookie?
It's also the middle of Christmas tree season, and that's part of what I do for a living, and, well, this time of year. Suffice it to say, note-taking is not my forte right now. So I have the computer up, so if you see me looking to the side, I hope that is okay. I hope that will do for you. So we're going to start with Amagi Brilliant Park, which is a series that came out in 2014. It's a 13-episode series. And this set, frankly, you can comfortably fit the show on one package. But they have, as is frequently the case with these, the DVD set and the Blu-ray set. Naturally, I watched the Blu-ray set. Not a whole lot in the way of special features for this one. They have what they call the Extra Magic Opening, which I believe I did watch that. Didn't really do too much. Clean openers and closers, Sentai Filmworks trailers. This one does have the OVA episode, more on that later. That's kind of... Oh, I'm looking at the individual discs. That's what it is. Okay, so that's what that is. But anyway, so that's the actual sets themselves. This is the DVD set. The Blu-ray set. And I'll go into more detail on the physical release here in a minute, but first, some little information on the series. Amagi Brilliant Park is a fun, lighthearted, up-tempo show from Kyoto Animation, so it's going to look freaking awesome, and it does. It's Kyoto Animation. And it is, let's see here... Should have definitely had a couple of those.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Oh, I am enjoying this scene.
Get on with it.
Bits up front. The art directors, Mikiko Watanabe, character design by Miku Kadawaki, director of photography Norihiro Tomita. Overall director is Yasuhiro Takamoto. And I'm almost certain Takemoto was the connecting force. Yes. He is also the person who was the director and storyboard artist for the Full Metal Panic franchise, which is an important connection that we'll get to pretty quickly. But basically, the series revolves around a guy who, this dude right here, who is a super narcissist.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations! Thank you all.
I mean, he is a super narcissist. His name is Seiya Kanye, and the series opens a very gorgeous and frankly busty young lady, Isuzu Sento, is holding an old-fashioned musket to his face and saying, "You will go on a date with me." That is her manner of asking people. Well, you come to realize there's a great song by well, not a great song, but this time of year it always runs through my head, and it's a fun song. A song by the Arrogant Worms called "Malcolm," and the recurring chorus is Malcolm solves his problems with a chainsaw. Malcolm solves his problems with a chainsaw. Malcolm solves his problems with a chainsaw, and he never has the same problem twice. Sento solves her problems with a musket. She doesn't necessarily fire said musket, and it's magical, so it doesn't kill people. It just, But if she has a problem that needs solving, she whips out the musket. Or muskets. She has a pair of them. And they actually address this at one point during the series where she briefly takes over as manager of the park. But the series starts with her asking him on a date, which you come to realize is actually her way of trapping him into going to Amagi Brilliant Park in the first place. And when you get there, you learn that Amagi Brilliant Park is a very rundown, has-been, on the way out, sad excuse of a pathetic excuse for a theme park.
It stinks.
And the theme is fairyland. Like, there's a whole bunch of characters who are fairy-type characters, and they run the gamut. Some are more animal-like, some are more, what am I trying to say? More like a traditional fairy or whatever. This is a good establishing shot for the series because it shows a lot of the characters. That's Kanye, that's Sento. This is Princess Latifa. And we'll go ahead and mention a couple of the other major characters. You got Muffle. You got Macaron is that guy that looks like a sheep or a ram or however you want to call it. I forget which one is the cat. I want to say Tirami, I believe, is the cat, and that's that one there. And then you have 4 fairies who represent the elements, and they, I believe, were Sylphie, Muse, Salama, and I think Kobri is that one. And basically they're earth, wind, fire, and water. And then you got an assortment of other ones. That guy's the IT guy. This lady here is the accountant. You've got three perfectly normal women who come in, not normal, but like normal humans, who take on various jobs in the park, plus the guy who always wears a luchador mask who's on security. You got a lot of others, but a couple of them, these four, and Kanye come from this world. Most of the others, you come to find out, actually come from a fairy kingdom. And the park is their way of keeping the princess alive and healthy. And I don't remember offhand the exact mechanics behind that, but it has a lot to do with the idea, which you see represented now and then in various forms of media. For example, in Peter Pan, of course, there's the whole thing of clap to make a fairy stronger. It's similar to that, like positive emotion, positive feelings. A theme park was a natural outlet for the fairies because in a thriving theme park, there's tons of that everywhere. And basically, the series starts with a very cool episode that felt like a travelogue. And it was a hilarious travelogue because you get this girl has asked this guy on a date, quote unquote. They go to this horrible theme park, and rather than really behaving at all like someone on a date, she drags them around to different things and stands in front of them. And the production design for the series it really is a travelogue. She is standing in front, giving a little spiel about it, informing the audience, but also informing Kanye about it. And she's doing it in the most bland, boring, monotone imaginable. Like, yay, I hear about, Prince, Holy Grail, and there was much rejoicing. Yay. That sort of thing.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? The tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone?
And she takes him to meet the princess, and there they kind of blindside him. They're kind of like, okay, what we really want is we want you to turn this park around. We want you to manage this place and turn it around and make it a profitable, give it a chance to go. And of course he flat refuses. But then he gets pulled back into it, and I cannot remember exactly, again, I should have done this right away. I can't remember exactly what changed his mind, but something changed his mind. I believe he ends up sitting in on a meeting where the real estate developer, who is a real jerk.
I deride your truth-handling abilities.
Is basically shooting holes in everything, just completely dismissing, denigrating, downplaying everything, basically talking about how he's going to basically turn it into a parking lot or a shopping mall or whatever he was going to do. And Kanye ends up striking him a deal striking a deal with the others that he will take over as manager of the park. And he has till the end of summer, or the end of the summer season, or whatever the case may be, end of the fiscal year. I think it was the end of the summer season. He has until this date. You need to get so many attendees. That's the word I was looking for. He needs to get so many warm bodies into the park by this date. And And so the show that follows is pretty much a mad scramble to do this, but they go about it in a very interesting way. They don't really, until the end really, they're not really in a mad dash. It's more like he methodically goes around looking at what needs to be changed, what needs to be done better, what needs to be done different. And every now and then things fall in his lap and he fixes the problem then and there. But
You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
I'm Winston Wolfe. I solve problems.
Good, we got one.
So I heard. May I come in?
Yeah, please do.
You must be Jules. Which make you Vincent. Let's get down to brass tacks, gentlemen. If I was informed correctly, the clock is ticking. Is that right, Jimmy?
100%.
Your wife, Bonnie, comes home at 9:30 in the a.m. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
I was led to believe if she comes home and finds us here, she wouldn't appreciate none too much.
She wanted that.
And of course, Sento is his right hand. She is his secretary. And like I said, there is one episode where she is feeling completely unappreciated. She questions what she's even doing, and he steps back and lets her be the manager and it's kind of funny because, again, she tries to solve every problem with the muskets, and she really has no interpersonal skills. Kanye, despite the fact that he's incredibly narcissistic, has the ability to relate to and communicate with other people. He is actually a good manager most of the time, which is kind of strange, but he does, and that's one of the, I kind of like the way they get into the sort of the nitty gritty, the managerial stuff, what have you. Not to give away too drastic a spoilers, but I don't think you do. I think you watch this show, they're going to make the goal. They get it, of course, under the wire. But that's the weird thing. The show is 13 episodes long. And they achieve their goal in episode 12, titled Nobody Knows What the Future Holds. And incidentally, the vast majority of the titles start with a negative. Actually, the first 9 titles all start with the word or phrase, not enough. You got not enough visitors, not enough time, not enough of a boost, not enough security competence, not enough money, not enough staff, not enough pool safety, not enough love appeal, not enough teamwork. Then you got nothing can be done, nothing to worry about now. Nobody knows what the future holds.
No soup for you.
Then they go back to the word not. But they call it not a good promo. And I gotta say, in a sense, yeah, it's not a good promo because it's the final episode. But it's a really weird final episode. It almost feels much more like an OVA episode. And then you have the OVA, No Time to Take It Easy, which almost, if I remember correctly, felt more organic to the plot than the final episode did. Which is really weird. But you have a grand total of 14 episodes. And I will say this, Amagi Brilliant Park is not the best show I've ever seen, but it is so much fun. It's a really fun show. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I liked Sento as a person. I actually kind of liked Kanye. I won't lie. Sento's hot, and I loved her character design. Some of the other characters were really fun, and probably no more so than that trio of mascot characters. Macron and Tirami are both a couple of ill-tempered, cantankerous. Tirami is all about flowers and loves flowers and grows flowers, but he's a super pervert. And Macron is more just hot-tempered. He is a musician, but he plays like the violin or whatever, but what he really wants is to play death metal. It's kind of funny to see this fluffy ram doing death metal. And then you got Muffle. And Muffle is where you see the direct reference to Full Metal Panic. I think they called him Bunta-kun or Bunta-kun, which was the main character's disguise, quote unquote disguise. And in this one, Muffle shows himself to be very, very similar to that character. He runs the sweets shop, but he also runs survival tournaments with guns and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, those three are all really good characters. They're really well developed. They're really thought out. But those discrepancies between their outward appearance and what they do for the park and then what they do behind the scenes made for a lot of the fun of the show and a lot of the amusement value. But again, also they were kind of deep characters. Muffle in particular, he's the princess's uncle, even though they don't look anything alike. I mean, again, she looks human. She and Sento and the four element fairies are the main, and the treasurer. I keep saying the wrong way. Accountant, HR, accountant. That's what I always get the wrong word for her. They all have a human appearance, but they're actually from the fairy kingdom. But most of the fairies are very different looking, and yeah. But that's pretty much the show in a nutshell. I will say that I really love both the main theme songs. Extra Magic Hours by Akino with Bless 4 is a really, really fun up-tempo opener. It's got a great visual aesthetic. It's updated 4 times, or rather there's 4 different versions. Basically, they update it with the addition of important new characters. When the 3 human characters are hired, they're added to it. When the dragon when the dragon and the little mole people or whatever they were are discovered, they're added to it. You know, they update it as characters are added. And then Elementario de Amasho is by quote-unquote Brilliant 4. I don't think it's the exact same singers that are... The singers, I don't think, are exactly the same as the voice actors for the 4 element fairies. I think one of them is the same. I would need to double check. But I like that Ender. I really do. And it's presented as a song they would do in their show. But the visuals are more kinetic than one would probably expect in your average Ender, but it's not nearly as... The opener is incredibly kinetic and lively and just crazy. And then... That's, like I said, that's most of what I've got on that show. I'm going to move on to the next here.
And now for something completely different.
Hopefully quickly, because this is going to be a long one. But I'll just talk about the physical releases. This comes with another creator visual fan book. And I'll be honest, this is straight up fan service. Some of the pictures are relatively innocent. That one of the princess. And it's really neat seeing different artists tackle these characters, although they do not dramatically change the character design for most of the pictures. But they really do play up the fan service, especially with Sento. So that will be a bonus feature that will not necessarily be for all, but it's nice and I don't mind it and it looks pretty. And then there's the thing full of individual things. And we did do a kind of sort of unboxing with this already on our videos. So I would recommend going back and looking at that to see everything. I'm going to try to move a little faster to make sure I have time for the other one too. I'm going to try and start holding my unboxings more for these videos. But since we've already done them, just reference the older videos, I'll say, for that. And then, this does not want to go back in. The next one up is Chihayafuru. And I will grab that in just, there we go. Chihayafuru comes this lovely matte finish box. And I'm actually very annoyed that they made it, I'm actually annoyed that they made it so that you can insert season 2 into this. And the main reason I'm annoyed about that, other than the fact that you then pay a ton of money for this that breaks down and you end up having to keep pieces in storage or throw them away, and this doesn't just sit on the shelf as is, or it doesn't look that great if you do. That's really annoying for the price you pay. But the main reason I'm annoyed,
Shut up and take my money!
is Chihayafuru Season 2 ends at a nice pause. But it ends with the main two characters getting ready to embark on a new story. Or two of the main characters. And it's clearly the beginning of something. And they clearly were banking on a Season 3. And thank God there is a Season 3 coming. I think it comes out next year. And along with Fruits Basket, it is currently the show I am most excited about. But that means that they plan for these two to be nice and compact and condensed. And then you're going to have Season 3 sitting next to them. And it's just going, no, they should have just done individual ones. I love the concept of condensing, but at any rate, let's go ahead and get into the main thrust of it here. Chihayafuru really and truly is a story of 3 individuals, more than anything else. But it's an ensemble that makes plenty of room for other people. And you've got, and I'm just going to say this up front. I've made comments to this effect as we've been doing our videos the last few weeks. But this is one of the best freaking anime ever. I love this show. I love this show. It has flaws, and I'll get to some of those. But overall, I love this show. And if Season 3 keeps up what the first 2 did, that'll be awesome. And I really hope it either has a conclusive ending or we get a Season 4. Because this is a series I really want to see a conclusive ending or a conclusive pause. But I definitely would not mind seeing it go longer. And this, despite the fact that both the first 2 seasons are about 25 they are 25 episodes. So there's 50 episodes of the show already. It's a long show. But basically it very much centers on this woman here, Chihaya Ayase, who is the younger sister of, I think her name was Chitose Ayase, who is a semi-famous model. And Chihaya is very beautiful. And everyone who meets her for the first time, they're all like blown away by her beauty until she starts talking and they realize this is a girl with a one-track mind. And to
forbidden donut.
many of them, they would say that mind has derailed. She is obsessed with a Japanese card game that is the center of the series that is known as Karuta. And Karuta, this picture here kind of shows her in hakama, which is sort of like a kimono. And that's what they traditionally play in hakama. And there are these little cards. And it's a traditional card game that is not extraordinarily well known outside of Japan. And even in Japan, it's a niche thing. but the people who get into it, in many cases, really do get into it. And this Chihaya is definitely no exception. She really gets into it. But this show goes to, it really does show that even though it's a card game, and it's a card game that requires a great deal of mental stimulus, it's also a very physical game. And this really is a sports anime, which I would say this is probably the best sports anime I've ever seen. And if you think the idea of 50 episodes of watching people play a Japanese card game that's not exactly mainstream. This is not something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there's name recognition. This is definitely going to have, as they say, a high barrier of entry for some people. I will admit, it's not the easiest one for your random average person to get into. But I liken it in a way to the Indian film Lagan, which is an almost 4-hour long movie about cricket. And believe me, I would not have heard that description and said, I'm going to love this movie, but I love the movie. It was well made. And I am trying so hard to find, I feel horrible. I can't remember the name of the collection of poems. It's the Hyokin Ishi or something like that. I'm probably horribly, Hyokin and Ishi. I think I butchered it just then, and I appreciate it. I apologize, but I think that's what it was. The Hyokin and Ishi it's 100 traditional Japanese poems that are written in traditional kanji or whatnot, and you have a reader, and your reader chooses poems or chooses cards with a poem at random. And you have people in one-on-one competition, and there's team matches and there's individual matches. But in any given match, you got one-on-one, and they have cards set out in front of them. If I recall correctly, 25 per each person. And so you end up with half the cards are what are called ghost cards. And basically, as the reader reads the cards, the two people find out who's the quickest to get the card. And Chihaya has a natural gift of what is known as, or what they call excellent hearing. Like, she has the ability to almost sense what poem is about to be read, but there's a few catches and caveats to that. One being that quite a few of the poems start with the same syllable. Quite a few of them have a couple syllables the same. And as she goes along, she meets people who are even more scarily adept at it than she is. The other two major players in the game are her two childhood friends, Taichi Mashima, who's this little dude here with the shaggy pinkish hair, that guy there, and Arata Wataya, that tall one with the dark hair and glasses. And when they were kids, Arata was not that sociable. He was kind of the odd one out in class. And Chihaya took an interest in him and his obsession with this game, and he introduced her to it. And Taichi has always been he's always had the hots for Chihaya, and they were good friends, and he kind of gets dragged in, almost kicking and screaming, because he doesn't have any interest in this game. But then before they really get too far, they end up forming a pretty nice little team. And before too long, Arata has to leave. He has to go home. He lives in his family is from a very different part of Japan. Taichi and Chihaya are in the Tokyo area, and Arata is more from the northern part. I don't believe it was. Oh, jeez. Oh man. I don't think it was Hokkaido, but I think it was like just a little bit short of there. So he has to go home. His grandfather, who taught him Garuda, is known as the Eternal Meijin. And just to give you an idea, the Meijin is basically like the top person, the best Garuda player in Japan. And as Arata tells Chihaya when they're kids, one of the reasons why he's so fascinated with it is the idea that if you're the best in Japan, you are the best. This is such a Japanese thing. If you are the best in Japan, you are the best. And so his goal is to be Meijin. And the female equivalent of that is the queen. And Chihaya is like, oh.
It will be mine. Oh, yes. It will be mine.
Really do get into it. And really, but Arata has to go home. He has to leave. And Chihaya spends almost every day after that playing, thinking, watching, doing Garuda. The series more or less really gets into gear, or really kicks off. Most of that was actually explained. There's an extended flashback that's basically like 2.5, 3 episodes long early in season 1. And they occasionally flash back to it after that, but that's the main background is presented in those episodes. But the series starts with the start of high school. And again, all these people staring at Chihaya as she walks by. Isn't she the sister of the model? I think she's the sister. And then they look at her and they look, and she's wearing sweatpants. And then she's going around putting up posters trying to start a competitive Garuda club at the school. Most of the people at the school either A, have not heard of it, which most of them have heard of it, or B, they could care less.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
And they think she's just really weird. And she finds out quickly that Taichi goes to school with her, and she's thrilled. She hasn't seen him in a while. They went to different middle schools, if I remember correctly. And she's so thrilled that she's come back. She's like, come, set up the club with me. We got to set up the club together. We got to. And he doesn't want to, but he goes along with it. And then she finds out very quickly, well, 2 people can't do a club. You need a club. You need at least 5 members. And so she starts going around and becomes almost desperate, going around. And she ends up finding a handful of people at her school. Yusei Nishida, who she calls, I think, Nikomano-kun or something like that. She basically calls him Porky. And he hates the nickname at first, but eventually he grows to it. He has known the 2 of them for ages. And he lost a major championship to him. So Garuda's been in his life, but because of that loss, he kind of retreated. I think he went to the tennis club, I believe it was. And he was decent at tennis, but he didn't really do it for him. And Chihaya comes after him, and he does not want to say yes, but eventually gives in. And then she finds, well, I may be getting the order wrong, but there's also this little dude here, Tsutomu Kamano. She ends up calling him Desk-tomu or something like that. It's like a play off his name. He's pretty much a straight up nerd, and he's in her class. And he does not want to join.
No, sir, I don't like it.
But she knows that he's really, 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 really good at the mental aspect of things. She can tell that he is excellent with memorization, that we come to find out in the series that he is excellent with strategy, with info collecting and what have you. He keeps notebooks and notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of information on their own strengths and weaknesses, but also others that they encounter in the different matches. Of course, he doesn't want to join either, and Mashima is the one who gets him finally, if I remember correctly, to join. And then you got Kanade Oe, this young lady here. A little bit on the plainer looking side, but definitely very curvy. So there's some people like, what am I trying to say? She also is very traditional in a lot of ways. She loves tradition. And part of that is the fact that her mother runs a kimono shop. Her family, but particularly her mother, runs a kimono shop, and she is the one who really gets the club outfitted in hakama. She's the one who's really a driving force in that. Chihaya models for the shop, and so it's sort of a symbiotic relationship. But Oe is really into that. But she loves the poems, the set of poems, the 100 poems. She is enormously loves the poem. She thinks that she's like a total poetry geek and just absolutely loves the beauty of it, the simplicity, the discipline, all that stuff. She has no problem having memorized all the poems, partly because she knows the history behind pretty much all the poems. And she becomes an invaluable addition to the team, but she also becomes invaluable to Chihaya's growth as a character, because before that Chihaya had solely looked at Karuta as a competition, and in fact it turns Oe off. She wants nothing to do with competitive Karuta once she gets a taste of it. She was almost interested in joining because she loves the poems, and gets completely turned off. And then Chihaya comes and they talk, and this is where one of the poems starts with the phrase Chihayafuru. And in conversation, Oe and Chihaya realize that is her card. You know, most players have their own card or cards, and that's Chihaya's card. That's the one that's like her thing. And Oe is flat out heartbroken in season 2 when it turns out that Chihaya still doesn't fully understand the card.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
But she comes to understand it by the end of the season. We'll put it that way. Or the poem, I should say. But Oe is, again, put off at first. But when Chihaya really, she just had never thought of them as poems. And once she does, she actually really gets into it and really loves the idea. And Oe sees that enthusiasm and sees that belief that, oh wait, this could work. And one little side note, Oe's mother, Rieko, you don't see her much in season 1, but you see her more in season 2. She is voiced by Aya Hizakawa. If I was still collecting credits, this series would be so freaking awesome for credits. Megumi Hayashibara joins the cast near the end of season 2. There's some really good people. Most of the main cast are known by somewhat lesser known people. Asami Seto is Chihaya. Arata is played by Yoshimasa Hosoya. But two very notable ones. The late... Okay, I'm almost sure I'm remembering this correctly, and please bear with me because I don't want to be wrong about this. Yes, I'm very disappointed by this. I don't know what they're going to do for season 3, but the sensei, the guy who runs the local Karuta society that Chihaya and Mashima join, Dr. Harada, is played by the late Unsho Ishizuka. I didn't want to embarrass myself, and I ended up butchering his name. But in the first 2 seasons, he's played by Ishizuka. And it's a crying shame that he is not going to be able to do season 3, because he was really good in the role. And Mamoru Miyano, who has played a ton of characters, including Light Yagami and some other various interesting characters, is the one that plays Mashima. So there are some very intriguing cast members. But basically, I'm just going to go ahead. I know this video is running long, and I do apologize. I just want to go ahead and mention a few little particulars. Season 2, they are told that they need more members or they will lose their room. They managed to recruit 2, and 2 only, unfortunately. Basically, they get an entire room full of girls who got one look at Mashima and said, "Ooh, yeah." And they just they cannot get the interest in Karuta. And the one who sticks it out is the one who determined that Mashima is going to be hers. And that is Sumire Hanano, who's this young lady here. And she does, not a minor spoiler, she does eventually learn to like the game. She's still mainly in it for Mashima, but she understands the thrill of competition. She understands that she's actually not that terrible at it. She ends season 2 still a Class D, but she actually did pretty good in her match. So, and then you got this guy here, whose name is Akihiro Tsukuba, and he is kind of an odd duck. He has a weird habit of looking super creepy when he plays people, and they thankfully kind of let that go by the wayside as the series goes on and he becomes more comfortable. He's one of those characters who usually has that kind of kitsune look where, you know, the eyes are always closed, but he's very shy and he's not like a super calculating character most of the time. But he has 3 little brothers who hero worship him, and he tries really hard to be the great big brother. He's really used to what's called second verse Karuta, so this version of Karuta is entirely new to him, and he gets it. He gets it, and he gets it pretty well. And again, he actually ends up. The different classes, they start D class, and then it's C class, and then, you know, B and A, or D, like, yeah, B and A. Well, I'm having trouble remembering the alphabet there. By the end of season 1, Nikamana-kun and Chihaya are actually both Class A, but Mashima has not made that, and that causes a great deal of the conflict in season 2. And he learns, again, minor spoiler, of course he gets it by the end. And a couple of the other characters manage to move up as well. Okay, I really got to find... Okay, I thought I was going to find more than that. Okay. Yeah, I was close. Hyakunin Ishu. That's it. Hyakunin Ishu. Okay, that's the collection of poems. So I was close. I think I had 1 or 2 syllables wrong there. But at any rate, it's a very intense sports anime that also is very much I think they call it josei. I'm not an expert. Like, I know the basic shonen and shoujo, but when you get into the more adult levels, I have trouble remembering what exactly the terminology is. This one definitely is more shoujo than shonen. Let's put it that way. The art style reminds me heavily of. It reminds me of sort of a cross between Honey and Clover, Bunny Drop, and Nana. And it's a very distinctive art style. It is, again, a very shoujo art style. You know, very long limbs, very expressive faces, no major emphasis on fan service. I did mention the OA is extremely busty, but they don't really emphasize that with the art. And the music goes along with that. I'm not going to say this is absolute, but in many cases, I feel like these kind of shows often have the more melodic kind of music and whatever. And I will say, I loved most of the music for this series. The vast majority of the music. The opening theme for the first season is called Youthful, and it goes by, as a group, goes by the name 99 Radio Service. The ending theme is Soshite Ima, which is by Asami Seto, which again, Chihaya, sort of I guess it's a character song almost. And then you got, with the second season, the opener is played Star, once again by 99 Radio Service. But the first one is clearly a female voice, but this one sounds more like a male voice. And Akane Zora, again by Asami Seto, ends the series, or ends the episodes. I absolutely love both openers, and I really love the art for them. They're both really gorgeous openers. They're not nearly as kinetic as Amagi Brilliant Park, not remotely, but they do have some nice kineticism. There's the characters, the Japanese characters, twirl and spin throughout the images, and it makes an interesting little effect. The enders are very simple with the visuals, especially the first ender is basically like stills that they slide across the camera. Actually, I think they did that with the second one too. And both songs are very pretty, but the second one I really liked. The first one, it was good. All of them were appropriate to the series. They fit the mood. They helped, they did what openers and enders are supposed to do. The music throughout is excellent. The orchestral music, the score is excellent. This is a series, and Amagi Brilliant Park, really, both of them are series where I really wish soundtracks were part of the deal. If you're going to do really nice bonus collector's editions, where are the soundtracks? Maybe for season 3 for Chihayafuru, they'll have the soundtrack for the whole show. That would be so sweet. Think about it, Sentai. Anyway, it's my throat telling me I ran a little long. So that's pretty much, again, as I said with the Amagi Brilliant Park, we already did essentially unboxings for these big editions, just if you found the appropriate earlier episode on our channel, on Septum's channel, I should say. Certainly, we always encourage people to go back and watch the old videos, And I'm certainly hoping you're enjoying this one, even though it is running a little longer. These are shows that I really enjoyed and I'm really enthusiastic about, and I very much want to recommend. I have not mentioned one of the more notable characters, and indeed character dynamics in this series. Mihoko Nakamichi plays a character called Shinobu Wakamiya, who is the current queen. She is known in the series simply most of the time as the Queen. And she goes up against Chihaya once in the first season and once in the second.
You know what? You got spunk.
Well,
I hate spunk.
And it's pretty brutal. But the second season, Chihaya actually walked away from it with a pained smile. But I'm not going to give away too much because it's really worth watching on your own. But suffice it to say, Shinobu is a character who was intentionally raised, really was intentionally groomed to be a Karuta prodigy. And part of her grooming was she was isolated. She was kept isolated and discouraged from making friends. And just, they wrecked her life. The people, she had, I don't know if there's going to be a reckoning for the people behind her growing up or not, but they ruined her life. They made her a hell of a Karuta player, but they ruined her life. And it's really interesting seeing this dynamic between Chihaya, who is a fount of good feeling, who's bubbly and effervescent and upbeat and outreaching and always trying to spread the gospel of Karuta, you could almost say. And going up against this woman who's just a frigid wall of nothing, and seeing how they interact with each other. And it actually, I thought they were some of the better scenes in both seasons. Shinobu's a character I'll be curious to see. And of course, season 2 also puts her against Arata. You know, they actually have a match together, and it was a pretty good match. It was well done. They did a good job with it. Due to narrative reasons, they did not actually show the whole match. But what they showed, they really, it worked well. It worked very well. Arata's a little bit of a cipher. He is a major part of the series, but because he lives elsewhere and was a self-imposed exile from Karuta for a couple of years, he's not as developed as some of the other characters are, but I'm really hoping that will change in season 3. And certainly he does get some development, and he is an interesting and likable character, although he didn't necessarily start off that way. But definitely very interesting dynamic there between some of these different characters. The scene where you find out that Chihaya's family is not neglecting her in favor of her sister was an extremely valuable and affecting scene. The main issues I will mention, there's a couple of issues with the series. One is a heavy reliance on flashback. There's a lot of flashback, and they will occasionally recycle the same sequence 20 times throughout the course of the series. I think most of the time they recycle more like 2 or 3 times, but I may have exaggerated. I don't know if there's one that's 20, but at the very least, some of the sequences get recycled probably in the double digits. So be aware of that. But most of the time that's not an issue. But where that's really an issue, and this is one thing to be aware of, it ticked me off. It was a debut on the show. Luckily, in a 50-episode series, this is nowhere near as problematic as it would be if the entire thing was 12 episodes. But in each season, there is a clip show episode. They do try to liven them up with some interesting little gag comic scenes, but for the most part, both episodes are straight-up clip shows. And you don't really need clip show episodes.
I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.
You definitely don't need one every season, but it does help get you caught up. The main thing is the show does so many flashbacks to begin with, so many callbacks to begin with, that the clip shows really feel extraneous. If the show didn't do a lot of flashbacks, okay, we could have a clip show. But so that was my main complaint.
I don't want to go on a rant here, but America's foreign policy makes about as much sense as Beowulf having sex with Robert Fulton at the First Battle of Antietam. I mean, when a neoconservative defenestrates, it's like Raskolnikov filibuster deoxymonohydroxynate.
The hell does rant mean?
Chihaya can be a little airheaded at times. There's a few other little minor things here and there, but on the whole, on balance, this is one of the best anime out there. And I'm actually tempted to give it a 10-star rating. I can't appropriately rate it until I've seen season 3, because technically the story's still ongoing. But of what exists right now, yeah, I'm tempted to say 10-star rating. Because I don't believe I've ever seen a 10-star... I don't think I've ever seen a show that was flawless. You know, Meizu no Koku was a little overlong, and some of the characters irritated the hell out of me. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the first couple episodes moved at breakneck speed because they didn't want to completely rehash the first series. And there were a couple other little minor issues along those lines. There were some things that were done better the first time around. They didn't want to rehash them, so it affected the value of the second series. Bunny Drop has got the cloud hanging over it of what happened in the second half of the manga. The anime itself has a couple little minor errors, but not really. Kino's Journey, not many flaws there. But you get the idea. Like, they're the best of the best, usually are not perfect, but they can still be really damn good. And Chihayafuru fits that to a T. And I think that about does it. I think that covers everything I really wanted to hit with both of these shows. Again, I do apologize for the length of the video. I know it ran a little longer than I had intended to. I know I wasn't as fresh on Amagi Brilliant Park. Oh, one thing I did want to mention with Amagi Brilliant Park. Naming conventions. As someone who tends to be a writer who's very proud of naming, I was intrigued by this. And of course in Chihayafuru, they make a big deal about names and the relationships of names and poems. One of the very few cards that Chihaya gets off of the queen starts with the phrase Shinoburedo. Her name is Shinobu, and she lost Shinoburedo, and she was pissed.
You know what really grinds my gears?
To lose that one. It was interesting. But Chihaya loses Chihayafuru a few times, and it always hurts her when she does. But with Amagi Brilliant Park, they went with a hip-hop theme with the naming, and I don't know exactly where they got this idea or why they went with it, but you got the queen. Her name was Latifa, the princess, sorry, but there you get the reference, Queen Latifah, you know, Princess Latifah. And I don't know really personality-wise if she really fits that or if it was just more the royalty angle. She is really kind and really giving, and Latifah has a wonderful reputation. Sento is a play on 50 Cent. 50 Cent has made his name as, gangsta, he's from the streets, I don't know how much of this is fiction and how much is real, and I don't remember the number, but I know he claims to have gotten several plugs to the chest, like he has been shot in the chest. So a character who solves everything with guns, they named her Sento. I don't know if that's entirely flattering to 50 Cent, but it's amusing to me. And then you got the main character's name is Kanye. There is only one man alive that I can think of, Mr. Trump, who may be more arrogant, narcissistic, and full of himself than Kanye West. I'm sorry, I just cannot see it otherwise. Kanye has come out and said he is a god. So the character who is one of the most narcissistic characters in all of anime being named after Kanye West, I actually thought that was pretty damn funny. But I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. I really did. But again, I know that's not flattering to Kanye West, but I'm sorry. The guy is not a god, and he is not God's gift to rap. He's a talented artist who is got a major, major, major God complex.
Well, then you find them, and you get them back in the dome. And to make sure nobody else gets out, I want roving death squads around the perimeter 24/7. I want 10,000 tough guys, and I want 10,000 soft guys to make the tough guys look tougher. And here's how I want them arranged. Tough, tough, soft, tough, soft, soft, tough, tough, soft, soft, tough, soft.
Sir, I'm afraid you've gone mad with power.
Of course I have. You ever tried going mad without power? It's boring. No one listens to you.
That's it. So, yeah, I when I read that, I was like, holy crap, that was some creative naming. And they probably carried it out to some of the other characters, and I just don't know about it, but I don't know. And I think that really does, I think that covers it. I think that's everything I need to mention with these shows. Definitely, I would highly recommend both of these series. Definitely would. This one I'd probably give a 9 rating. Maybe a weak 9, but I would give it a 9, I think. This one, like I said, is at least a weak 10. It might be a full 10. And these are wonderful sets. They don't have the soundtracks, but they're still wonderful sets. Very solid. It is annoying as hell to me that you have to buy this one to complete this package. I would have rather they'd done them separately. But I will go ahead and say, by the time this video airs, probably the current Right Stuff and Sentai sales will be over. Maybe they will have sold out of these sets by then. But last year, Sentai did a unbelievable post-Christmas sale on their special sets. And maybe they'll do it again this year. Maybe by the time this gets posted, they'll be doing that sale and be your chance to snap them up. But even if you don't, the standard editions, I would get them. I would recommend both series. And that will about do it. I'm going to be taking a break from this set to focus on my Criterion stuff. And also Septum really wants to do a NIS series. So I'm probably going to be trying to get some of those knocked out. But at some time soon, I'll eventually get back into these sets. And look forward to that, because I'm looking forward to it. And, well, thank you. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let me know what you think. If you've been able to actually look at these sets, if you think they're worth money, or if you haven't but you know the series, let me know if you agree, if you disagree, what have you. If based on these series you could rank other recommendations that I might enjoy. I will go ahead and say, because of the connection, the somewhat tenuous, but the connection between this one and Full Metal Panic, I'll go ahead and mention that if you do like Amagi Brilliant Park, you should at least enjoy Fumafu. Fumafu was a very fun series. Full Metal Panic in general was an excellent franchise, but Fumafu was the more upbeat, lively one. I think you'd probably enjoy watching that and then watching Amagi Brilliant Park. I didn't get the immediate connection with Muffle. I just thought he looked familiar. But eventually I was like, But anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.
Goodbye.